The story of the Civil Liberties Act of 1988 begins with a dark chapter in American history, the internment of Japanese Americans during World War II. After the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941, fear and prejudice gripped the nation. Anti-Japanese sentiment rapidly spread, fueled by wartime anxieties and racial stereotypes. In 1942, President Franklin D. Roosevelt signed Executive Order 9066, authorizing the military to define areas from which any or all persons may be excluded. This order ultimately led to the forced removal of over 120,000 people of Japanese descent, most of whom were American citizens, from their homes on the West Coast. They were incarcerated in 10 internment camps scattered across the country, living in cramped and often harsh conditions for years, with little hope of release. This policy of mass incarceration, based solely on race and national origin, stands as a stark reminder of how easily fear and prejudice can undermine fundamental freedoms. The internment experience left a lasting scar on the Japanese American community, both emotionally and economically. Families were torn apart, businesses lost, and a generation robbed of their liberty and dignity. For decades after the war ended, the injustice of the internment remained largely unaddressed. Many Americans remained unaware of this dark chapter, while those who had suffered through it lived with the painful memories and the sense that their government had wronged them. However, the fight for justice and redress did not end. Japanese Americans, along with civil rights advocates, began a long and arduous struggle to seek recognition of this grave injustice. The Civil Liberties Act of 1988 stands as a landmark achievement in the pursuit of justice and reconciliation. Decades after the end of World War II, the United States formally acknowledged the injustice of the Japanese American internment and took steps to make amends. This act, passed by Congress and signed into law by President Ronald Reagan, represented the culmination of years of grassroots activism and legislative efforts. Japanese American communities, along with civil rights organizations, worked tirelessly to raise awareness about the internment and to push for redress. Their efforts gained momentum in the 1970s and 1980s as a new generation of Americans became aware of this chapter in their nation's history and recognized the need for atonement. The passage of the act was not without its opponents. Some argued that it was unnecessary or that it would open the door to excessive litigation. However, the voices of conscience and reason ultimately prevailed. The act passed with bipartisan support, reflecting a growing national consensus that the internment was a grave injustice that demanded both acknowledgement and redress. The Civil Liberties Act of 1988 serves as a powerful reminder that even in the face of fear and prejudice, the pursuit of justice and equality can prevail. It stands as a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the enduring power of democratic ideals. The Civil Liberties Act of 1988 contained two key provisions: a formal apology and financial restitution. The act began with a powerful statement acknowledging the injustice of the internment, stating that the United States government apologizes for the evacuation, relocation, and internment of civilians of Japanese ancestry. This apology, signed into law by President Reagan, carried immense symbolic weight. It represented a long overdue acknowledgement of the government's wrongdoing and provided a measure of validation and closure for the survivors and their families. In addition to the apology, the act authorized the payment of $20,000 in reparations to each surviving internee. While no amount of money could truly compensate for the hardships endured, this financial restitution served as a tangible expression of remorse and an attempt to address the economic losses suffered by those who were unjustly imprisoned. The process of distributing reparations took several years, and not all survivors lived to receive them. Nevertheless, the payments represented a significant step towards righting a historical wrong. They served as a concrete reminder that the government was committed to making amends for its past actions. The Civil Liberties Act of 1988 stands as a testament to the importance of confronting the darker chapters of American history and learning from past mistakes. The Act's passage marked not only a victory for Japanese Americans who had fought for decades for recognition and redress, but also a significant milestone in the broader struggle for civil liberties in the United States. By acknowledging and seeking to atone for the injustices of the past, the Act reaffirmed the fundamental principles of equality and justice upon which the nation was founded. It served as a reminder that the protection of civil liberties, particularly in times of crisis, is essential to a just and democratic society. The legacy of the Civil Liberties Act of 1988 continues to resonate today. It serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of prejudice and the importance of safeguarding the rights of all citizens. The Act's message of remembrance, reconciliation, and the enduring fight for justice remains as relevant as ever in a world where civil liberties are still under threat. By learning from the mistakes of the past, we can strive to create a more just and equitable future for all.